Hello, this is part 2 for the screencast for chapter 10, and we're going to start out with reflecting on the focus for why we read this chapter. So the focus is, how is the family feeling during their trip, and then why are they feeling that way? So make sure that you reflect on this question. There's some room on the bottom of this packet page for you to record your ideas. And then before we move on to the comprehension questions, I did just want to give you a couple of reminders and touch back on a skill that we've been practicing throughout this school year, and I know Miss Weston's class has as well, on point of view. So point of view shows the perspective of who is speaking, talking, singing, and so there are 4 main kinds of points of view that we study. One is called first person, one is called second person, and then the next kind is called third person, and third person can either be third person omniscient or third person limited. So I put this visual in here just as a reminder for you. When you're looking for point of view in a text, if you're asked a question about who is the narrator or the speaker or who is giving their perspective or which point of view is the author using, you can refer back to this to help you uncover those ideas. So when you're looking for point of view, you really want to pay attention to the pronouns that are being used, and those are kind of highlighted in yellow here on this poster. So if you see a lot of I language, I, me, my, us, we, that is going to be an indicator or a clue that first person narrative is being used or first person point of view. If you see a lot of you, your, yours, that's a clue that second person point of view is being used. Omniscient, when we talk about third person omniscient, it's telling us what all of the characters think. It's like having a fly on the wall that's watching everything going on, and as the reader, you get to hear about all the characters' thoughts and their inner feelings. And then third person limited lets the reader know just what one character is thinking. So you might get a lot of names of people. If they're saying Max is doing this, Brett is doing that, Kim is over there doing that, but you might not get all of the information about what everybody's thinking and feeling. When we're thinking about the point of view for this chapter, we're thinking who is narrating this chapter, who's telling us the information, and what information do we as the reader know about all of the characters' thoughts and feelings. So see if you can use this information and figure out who's narrating this chapter, so which point of view is being used. And then just as a fun challenge, think about how might this story be different if somebody else was narrating it. So for instance, if Byron was telling the story, or if Mama was telling the story, or even Joey, how might that change things in the information that we receive? All right, so we're gonna go through some of the comprehension questions. I'm gonna read through them for you and make sure that you circle and record at least 2 of them. If you feel like you want to do more than that, good for you, you can do more than that, but you're gonna have to use some scratch paper. So, number 1. Kenny knows that once Mama falls asleep, Dad plans to drive much further than her schedule would allow. How does Kenny figure this out? Option 2, why are the Watson children frightened when the family stops in Tennessee? This one is a level 2 question. You might have to make an inference about why they're frightened. Option number 3, at this point in the story, with which character do you most closely identify with? What makes you similar to that character? And option number 4, why doesn't Dad want to stick with Mama's plan to take several days to drive to Birmingham? And for number 4, you may have to make an inference for this one as well. You can always go back to the other videos that Miss Weston and I posted and use some of the sentence frames to help you record your answers here in nice, big, complete sentences that are 5th and 6th grade style. All right, for your comprehension activities, you get to choose one of these 2 things, although they're both really kind of fun, so you might want to do both anyway. Option number 1 says, if you were going on a road trip, what would you pack? So you can draw and label the things in the suitcase that you would pack. And option number 2 is to make a comic strip that summarizes and illustrates, so you might have pictures and words, the important events in this chapter. So there's a little reminder here to use the words first, next, then, or last. You might also just do this comic book style, so you might have like speech bubbles for your characters. But I did find some examples of what comic strips look like if you've never like read them in the newspapers or online or anything. So they're just little drawings that show the events from the story in order. All right, and then back to our packet. Your exit ticket today says, how does the Watson family show courage in this chapter? And use at least one example from the text in your answer. You can also post your response in Google Classroom or answer it in the space here. You might have to think about what courage means to you before you answer this question. So courage, bravery, what does that mean to you? How might you see that in your life? That might help you with some ideas when you're finding it in the chapter. You can think about, if you were in the story, where would you use courage? All right, and that's all I have for you for chapter 10. So let us know what you thought about the chapter. Ask us if you have any questions from the packet or if you need anything clarified. We are so happy to talk to you during office hours. We miss you, and I guess you will see us for chapter 11.